आज हम पढ़ने वाले हैं जनरल एनाटॉमी बाय विक्रम सिंह सार का। ठीक है, ये 4th एडिशन है और चैप्टर नंबर 3 आर्किटेक्चर एंड डिज़ाइन ऑफ अ ह्यूमन बॉडी। ठीक है, आज इस चैप्टर को पूरा ख़त्म करूँगा। इसमें जनरली 1 2 पेज 3 पेज है, 3 पेज। अगर उल्टा अपर साइड 2 साइड करोगे तो 6 7 पेज। ठीक है, मोटे तौर पर 3.5 पेज अगर हम ऐसे देखेंगे। नाउ आर्किटेक्चर एंड डिजाइन ऑफ अ ह्यूमन बॉडी। द ह्यूमन बॉडी इज ए कॉम्प्लेक्स लाइक ए हाईली टेक्निकल एंड सोफिस्टिकेटेड machine. Therefore, the knowledge of its organization is essential to comprehend. Before beginning to the study of the organization of the human body, one should know the taxonomic position of the human in animal kingdom because we share many characteristics with all living animals. Like all other living animal, we breathe, eat, digest food, excrete body waste, locomote, and reproduce our own kind. We are subject to disease, injury, pain, aging, mutation, and death. The process by which our body produce, store, and utilize energy are also similar to those found in all living organisms. The fundamental pattern of development and the growth of many vertebrates are also seen in human development. In the scheme of classification of animal kingdom established by biologists to organize the structural and evolutionary relationship of living organism, each category of classification is referred to as a taxon. The highest taxon is the kingdom and the most specific category is species. Human beings are species belonging to the animal kingdom. Phylogeny is the origin and evolutionary development of animal species. Now, classification of human in animal kingdom. Human beings are biological creatures that are classified into 8 main taxonomic grouping. The scientific classification of a human being and the characteristic feature of each group are given in box 3.1. Characteristic of human. Human being possesses certain anatomical features which separate them from other animals. These are as follows: a large, well-developed brain. The average adult human brain weight between 1350 से लेकर के 1400 ग्राम. This gives human a large brain to body weight ratio. The human brain account for emotion, thought, reasoning, memory, and a precisely coordinated movement. Bipedal locomotion. Human beings stand and walk on 2 limbs and the upper limb swing with the movement of other lower limb. An opposable thumb. The human thumb is tremendously versatile. It is opposable to finger, hence adapted to grasp the object. Box 3.1 Classification of a human being and a characteristic feature. नाउ ग्रुप, उसके बाद फीचर. किंगडम आपका एनिमलिया आएगा. यूकैरियोटिक सेल दैट लैक्स वॉल एंड फोटोसिंथेटिक पिगमेंट इसमें होता है एनिमलिया किंगडम में. फाइलम आपका क्रोडाटा हो जाएगा. प्रेजेंस ऑफ नोटोक्रोड एंड फैरिंजियल पाउचेस इसका फीचर रहेगा. सब फाइलम हो जाएगा वर्टिब्रेटा. प्रेजेंस ऑफ वर्टिब्रल कॉलम. क्लास आपका मामालिया, मतलब प्रेजेंस ऑफ मामरी ग्लैंड एंड हेयर. ऑर्डर आपका रहेगा प्रीमाटा. प्रेजेंस ऑफ वेल डेवलप्ड ब्रेन एंड प्रीहेंसाइल हैंड. फैमिली हो जाएगा होमिनिडे. लार्ज सेरिब्रम एंड बाइपेडल लोकोमोशन। जीनस हो जाएगा होमो, फ्लैटन्ड फेस, प्रोमिनेंट चिन एंड नोज with inferiorly डायरेक्टेड नॉस्ट्रिल। देन स्पेसीज आपका सापियंस आ जाएगा, लार्जेस्ट सेरेब्रम, सापियंस लार्जेस्ट सेरिब्रम। फोर्थ नंबर पर में कैरेक्टरिस्टिक ऑफ ह्यूमन में आएगा वेल डेवलप्ड आर्टिकुलेटेड स्पीच। ह्यूमन बीइंग्स have well developed articulate speech, hence they can communicate with each other, which lead to the development of their unique culture and language। उसके बाद स्टेरियोस्कोपिक विजन। द ह्यूमन आई आर डायरेक्टेड फॉरवर्ड्स so that when we focus an object we view it from two angle। Stereoscopic vision gives us the depth of perception। Three-dimensional image। Human being differ from other animal in the number and arrangement of vertebrae, that is vertebral formula, the kind of number of teeth, that is dental formula, the degree of development of facial muscle, etc. Traits unique to human beings are summarized as under erect posture, intelligence with cognitive function, skilled hand with an opposable thumb, stereoscopic or binocular vision, prominent chin, fine coordination of muscle for skilled movement, well articulated speech। क्या गर्मी हो रहा है। Organization of the human body। The human body begins with a single cell growing into multicellular organism made up of trillions of cells। During this process it undergoes many levels of organization। Thus within the body there are different levels of structural organization। The five main levels of organization are cellular level, tissue level, organ level, system level, उसके बाद organism level। सेलुलर लेवल क्या होता है? द सेल इज द स्ट्रक्चरल एंड फंक्शनल यूनिट ऑफ लाइफ। द ह्यूमन इज ए मल्टी सेलुलर और ऑर्गेनिज्म कंपोज्ड ऑफ 30 से लेकर के 37 ट्रिलियन सेल। इट इज एट द सेलुलर लेवल दैट मेटाबॉलिज्म, ग्रोथ, रिपेयर एक्सेट्रा आर कैरिड आउट। The human body contains many distinct types of cells, each of which is specialized to perform specific function। Example of specialized cell are bone cell, muscle cell, fat cell, blood cell, nerve cell। Each of these cells have a unique structure related to its function। Now coming to the tissue level। The tissue is a group of cells with similar structure and function, including extracellular substance between them। The example are epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscle tissue, nervous tissue। Organ level। An organ is composed of two or more types of tissue that are integrated to perform particular function। Example of organ are heart, stomach, spleen, eye, skin, etc. Then coming to the system level। A body system consists of various organs that have similar or related function। There are 11 major systems in the body, namely integumentary system, skeletal system, उसके बाद muscular system, nervous system, endocrine system, cardiovascular system, उसके बाद lymphatic system, respiratory system, digestive system, urinary system, reproductive system. Then organism level. An organism is any living thing considered as a whole, whether it is composed of one cell, namely bacteria, or trillions of cells such as human beings. The human body is a complex of organ systems that are mutually dependent on each other, interrelated, and function together. Now coming to the body regions. The human body is divided into several regions. The major body regions are the head, neck, trunk. Trunk, trunk is frequently divided into thorax and abdomen. Okay, upper extremities and lower extremities. ठीक है. Head is the upper globular part of the body. It is divided into two regions: the facial region, which include the forehead, eye, nose, mouth, and second one होची the cranial region, which encloses the brain. Neck is the cylindrical region that extend between the trunk and head. The neck support the head and allows it to move. Thorax is the upper part of the trunk and is commonly referred to as the chest. The thoracic region include breast on its anterior aspect. Okay, सो हेड नेक ये हो जाएगा. हेड नेक ऊपर वाला, थोरैक्स अपर लिम्ब, एब्डोमेन, ओके, लोअर लिम्ब. ठीक है. cranial cavity, vertebral column, diaphragm, ओके, thoracic cavity, abdominal cavity. उसके बाद आपका pelvic cavity आ जाएगा, pleural cavity, pericardial cavity. ठीक है. तो ओके, abdominal cavity proper, ओके, pelvic cavity. ठीक है. Abdomen is located below the thorax. It presents the navel, मतलब umbilicus, in its center anteriorly. The lower portion of abdomen forms the pelvis. The inferior aspect of the trunk between the two thighs is called the perineum. Upper limb include the shoulder region. उसके बाद arm, brachium, elbow, forearm जिसे antebrachium कहा जाता है, wrist, hand, finger, that is known as upper limb. Lower limb include the gluteal region, thigh, knee, legs, ankle, foot, उसके बाद toe. In the classical regional approach of teaching, the head and neck region are taught together, hence they together form the head and neck region. Similarly, the brain is taught separately and thus it is also considered as a separate region. Therefore, the regional approach to teaching include the following 6 regions of the body: head, neck, brain, उसके बाद thorax, abdomen, upper limb, lower limb. So 6 region हमारे बॉडी में टोटल है. Now body cavities. For functional and protective purpose, the viscera are located within the cavities of the body. The body cavities contain organ and system that have related function. The major cavities of the body are as follows: abdominal cavity, उसके बाद thoracic cavity, उसके बाद cranial cavity, vertebral canal. बस इतना ही, 4 हो गया, 5 तो नहीं. ठीक है. The major cavities of the body are as follows: abdominal cavity, it is the largest cavity in the body. Abdominal cavity, It is the largest cavity in the body. It is divided into a large upper portion called the abdominal cavity proper and a small lower portion called the pelvic cavity. Abdominal cavity proper. It is oval in shape and is situated in the main part of the trunk. It is bounded superiorly by the diaphragm, which separate it from the thoracic cavity anteriorly by muscle forming the anterior abdominal wall, and posteriorly by lumbar vertebrae and muscle forming the posterior abdominal wall, laterally by lower ribs and parts of the muscle of the abdominal wall, and inferiorly it is continuous with the pelvic cavity. The abdominal cavity proper contains organ and glands involved in digestion and absorption of the food. Number 1, stomach, small intestine and most of the large intestine, liver, gallbladder, bile duct, pancreas. उसके बाद spleen, kidney, upper part of the ureters and adrenal gland. Now coming back to the pelvic cavity. Pelvic cavity. Pelvic cavity. It is roughly funnel shape and extend from the lower end of the abdominal cavity. It is bound anteriorly by pubic bones, posteriorly by sacrum and coccyx, laterally on either side by the innominate जिसे हम हिप बोन कहते हैं, inferiorly by muscle of a pelvic floor, and superiorly it is continuous with the abdominal cavity. The pelvic cavity contain terminal portion of the large intestine. The pelvic cavity contain terminal portion of the large intestine, that is sigmoid colon, rectum, anus. उसके बाद some loops of the small intestine, urinary bladder, uterus, uterine tube, ovaries, prostate, seminal vesicles. Okay. Now coming to the thoracic cavity. This is situated in the upper part of the trunk. It is bound anteriorly by the sternum and costal cartilages of the rib, laterally by 12 pair of the rib, intercostal muscles, posteriorly by thoracic vertebrae and intervertebral disc between the bodies of the vertebrae. The thoracic cavity contain trachea, lower part only, bronchi, lungs. Okay. उसके बाद हार्ट, aorta, superior and inferior vena cava, thymus and thoracic duct, oesophagus. ठीक है. Now cranial cavity. It is the cavity within the skull and is therefore bounded by the bones of the skull as follows: anteriorly by frontal lobe, posteriorly by occipital bone, laterally on each side by temporal bone, superiorly by parietal bone, inferiorly by the sphenoid bone, sphenoid, ethmoid and part of the frontal, temporal, occipital bone. The cranial cavity contains brain. उसके बाद वर्टिब्रल कैनल. इट इज लोकेटेड विद इन द वर्टेब्रल कॉलम. ठीक है, वर्टेब्रल कॉलम. इट इज लोकेटेड विद इन द वर्टेब्रल कॉलम. इट कंटेन्स स्पाइनल कॉर्ड. ठीक है. उसके बाद द स्मॉल एंड माइनर कैविटीज ऑफ द बॉडी आर ओरल कैविटी, जिसे हम बकल कैविटी कहते हैं. इट कंटेन्स टीथ एंड टंग. टू नाजल कैविटीज. These are concerned with respiration and sense of smell. Two orbital cavities, each of them houses the eyeball and its associated muscles, nerve and vessels. Two middle ear cavities, each of them contain ear ossicles. The various cavities of the body are summarized in flow chart 3.1. सो कैविटीज ऑफ द बॉडी, मेजर कैविटीज में एब्डोमिनल कैविटीज आएगा, पेल्विक कैविटीज आएगा, थोरासिक कैविटी आएगा, क्रैनियल कैविटी आएगा, वर्टेब्रल कानल आएगा। माइनर कैविटीज में तुम्हारा आएगा ओरल आएगा, नाजल आएगा, ऑर्बिटल आएगा, मिडिल ईयर आएगा। नाजल में 2, ऑर्बिटल में भी 2, मिडिल ईयर में भी 2। चलो उसके बाद बॉडी का मेम्ब्रेन आज खत्म कर पाएंगे या नहीं, बस ये खत्म हो जाएगा तो हो जाएगा। बॉडी मेम्ब्रेन, द मेम्ब्रेन ऑफ द बॉडी आर मोस्टली सीट ऑफ एपिथेलियल सेल एंड they are supporting thin connective tissue layer. The cover of a body surface or line the inner aspect of a hollow organ or body cavities. The three main membrane are cutaneous membrane जिसे हम स्किन कहते हैं, म्यूकस मेम्ब्रेन, उसके बाद सेरस मेम्ब्रेन। दीज आर द 3 मेम्ब्रेन। ओके, बॉडी का मेम्ब्रेन। सो क्यूटानियस मेम्ब्रेन या स्किन, it is made up of keratinized stratified squamous epithelium and an underlying layer of a dermis made up of dense irregular connective tissue. It protects the body surface from drying and keep it moist and oily by the secretion of its sweat and sebaceous gland. For detail, see chapter number 5 on the skin and superficial fascia and deep fascia. Now coming to the mucous membrane. It is made up of epithelium. Type of epithelium varies from site to site, resting on the layer of loose connective tissue called as lamina propria. It secretes a thick viscid substance called as mucus, which lubricate or protect the associated organ. They line in various cavities and tube that enter or exit from the body, namely oral, nasal cavities, ठीक है, tubes of a respiratory tract, reproductive, urinary and digestive system. Then coming to the serous membrane, it is a layer of a simple squamous epithelium resting on a thin layer of loose areolar tissue. The serous membrane covers the organ within the thoracic and abdominal cavities. The important serous membrane are pleural membrane covering the lungs, pericardial membrane covering the heart, peritoneal membrane covering the abdominal pelvic viscera. They secrete a thin watery fluid called as serous fluid which act as a lubricant. The serous membrane are invaginated by the viscera and divided into 2 layers. Number 1, the visceral layer adhering to the outer surface of the organ. Number 2, the parietal layer lining the wall of the body cavities. उसके बाद the space between the visceral and parietal layer forms a serous cavity such as pleural cavity, pericardial cavity and peritoneal cavities. The largest serous cavity in the body. The pericardial cavity surround the heart, the pleural cavity surround the lungs and the peritoneal cavity surround the abdominal and pelvic viscera. The space between the visceral and parietal serous membrane जो कि serous cavity is normally filled with a thin lubricating film of serous fluid produced by the membrane. As organs rub against the body wall or another organ, the serous fluid and the serous membrane reduce the friction. The important serous membrane and serous cavities of the body are summarized in table 3.1. Then synovial membrane. It is a connective tissue membrane that is made of only connective tissue and does not contain the epithelium at all. It lines the inner aspect of the fibrous capsule of a joint to provide a smooth surface for the joint. It secrete clear, sticky, oily synovial fluid which act as a lubricant. The synovial fluid is secreted by fibroblasts, that is synoviocytes of this membrane. Clinical correlation: inflammation of the serous membrane. The serous membrane sometimes become inflamed, usually as a result of infection. The inflammation of the pericardium is called pericarditis, that of the pleura is called pleuritis, and that of the peritoneum is called peritonitis. When inflamed, the serous membrane produce an increased amount of serous fluid within serous cavities, leading to clinical condition such as pericardial effusion मतलब accumulation of a fluid in the pericardial cavity. दूसरा होता है प्लूरल इफ्यूजन मतलब accumulation of a fluid in the pleural cavities. ascites मतलब accumulation of a fluid in the peritoneal cavities. Now table 3.1, serous membrane and serous cavities of the human body. So serous membrane, serous cavity. सेरस मेम्ब्रेन है आपका प्लूरा एक सेरस मेम्ब्रेन है, तो इसका सेरस कैविटी क्या हो जाएगा, प्लूरल कैविटी. पेरिकार्डियम का पेरिकार्डियल कैविटी, पेरिटोनियम का पेरिटोनियल कैविटी. नाउ कमिंग टू द बॉडी फ्लूइड्स. About 60% of the body weight is formed by fluid present within the body. The body fluid is of two type, extracellular fluid, उसके बाद आपका आ जाएगा इंट्रासेलुलर फ्लूइड. एक्स्ट्रासेलुलर फ्लूइड इट अकाउंट्स फॉर 22% ऑफ द बॉडी वेट. द एक्स्ट्रासेलुलर फ्लूइड कंसिस्ट ऑफ ब्लड, प्लाज्मा, lymph, cerebrospinal fluid and fluid in the interstitial space of the body, that is known as interstitial fluid. The interstitial fluid, that is intercellular fluid, also called tissue fluid, bathes all the cell of the body except the outer layer of the skin. It is a medium through which substance pass from the blood to the body cell and from the cell to the blood. For example, O2 and nutrient passes from blood मतलब capillaries to the interstitial fluid, while carbon dioxide and waste pass from cell into intercellular fluid. The interstitial fluid containing carbon dioxide and waste product is drained by the vein, that is 75% लगभग, and a lymph vessel जो कि 25%. The well-being of every cell is dependent upon the composition of the intercellular fluid, which is therefore maintained at a constant level by many control mechanisms in the body. This is called homeostasis. Intracellular fluid, it accounts for 38% of the body weight. The composition of intracellular fluid is largely controlled by the cell itself because selective uptake and discharge mechanism present in the cell membrane. Now general disposition of the body structure. Narayana. General disposition of the body structure. During dissection, generally following structure are encountered from the superficial to the deep. पहले आएगा skin, it is the outermost covering of the body. Then superficial fascia, it is made up of loose connective tissue and filled with a variable amount of fat in the different region. Then उसके बाद deep fascia आएगा, it is a thin, tough, inelastic fibrous membrane deep to the superficial fascia and superficial to the muscles. Then उसके बाद muscle आएगा, इसमें skeletal muscle they are present deep in the deep fascia as red fleshy masses of different size and shape. उसके बाद blood vessel and nerve आपका आ जाएगा. They are present between the muscle embedded in loose connective tissue. When traced distally they give branches. देन उसके बाद बोन आएगा, जॉइंट्स आएगा. बोन आर हार्ड स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ डिफरेंट साइज एंड शेप लाइंग डीप इनटू द मसल्स. द जंक्शन बिटवीन द बोन आर कॉल्ड एज जॉइंट. द बोन along with joint form the skeletal framework of the body. Then introduction to the study of illness. In order to understand the anatomical basis of a specific disease described in the latter chapter, it is necessary to adopt a systematic approach as outlined below. पहले एटियोलॉजी. एटियोलॉजी मतलब द कॉज ऑफ डिजीज, डिजीज का कारण. पैथोजेनेसिस मतलब द नेचर ऑफ अ डिजीज प्रोसेस एंड इट्स इफेक्ट ऑन नॉर्मल बॉडी फंक्शनिंग. कॉम्प्लिकेशन क्या होता है? अदर कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस व्हिच माइट अराइज इफ डिजीज प्रोग्रेस. प्रोग्नोसिस मतलब द लाइकली आउटकम. ठीक है, द लाइकली आउटकम. नाउ एटियोलॉजी. द डिजीज इज कॉज्ड बाय वन और मेनी फैक्टर. The common factor causing the disease are genetic abnormalities. इसमें inherited और acquired हो सकता है. Infection by microbes और parasite namely worms, bacteria, virus. Chemicals के द्वारा हो सकता है. Ionizing radiation के द्वारा हो सकता है. Physical trauma के द्वारा हो सकता है. Degeneration namely excessive use और aging. Now, if no specific cause of the disease is identified, the cause is described as idiopathic. उसके बाद if the disease is caused by carelessness of the doctor, the cause is described as iatrogenic. Okay. Now coming to the pathogenesis. The main process causing the illness are as follows. Inflammation. The tissue's response to its damage is due to the trauma or invasion by the microbes. That is known as inflammation. Tumor. They arise when the rate of cell production exceed that of normal cell destruction, causing a mass to develop rapidly. Abnormal immune mechanism. Sometimes the normally protective immune mechanism of the body may cause undesirable effect. Now thrombosis, embolism, infarction. The effect and consequences of abnormal change in the blood or the wall of a blood vessel. Then degeneration, which led to impaired function. Then coming to the metabolic abnormalities such as phenylketonuria causes undesirable effect. Terminology associated with the disease. Acute मतलब a disease with sudden onset, उसे हम acute कहेंगे. Chronic मतलब long standing disorder. Congenital मतलब a disorder which one is born with, that is a disorder which one is born with. Acquired मतलब a disorder that develops any time after the birth. Then उसके बाद symptom, any abnormalities या disorder described by the patient, that is known as symptom. Sign मतलब an abnormalities or a disorder noted by the doctor. Syndrome क्या होता है? A group of sign and symptom which together constitute a disease, that is known as syndrome. Complication. These include spread of a disease involving surrounding structure. Complication में क्या आएगा? Spread of a disease involving surrounding structure. Septicemia, metastasis. Now coming to the prognosis. It is the forecast of a probable course and outcome of a disease. Example, the prognosis of a benign tumor is generally good, whereas that of a malignant tumor are poor. That is known as prognosis. Golden facts to remember में साइंटिफिक नेम ऑफ अ मॉडर्न मैन, दैट इज मॉडर्न मैन का साइंटिफिक नेम क्या होता है? होमो सापियंस होता है. टू मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट कैरेक्टरिस्टिक ऑफ अ ह्यूमन बीइंग क्या होता है? हाईली डेवलप्ड ब्रेन एंड अपोजेबल थंब. ठीक है. मोड ऑफ लोकोमोशन ऑफ ह्यूमन बींग्स बाईपेडल होता है. नंबर ऑफ सेल इन द ह्यूमन बॉडी 30 से लेकर के 37 ट्रिलियन. सोल लिविंग मेंबर ऑफ द फैमिली होमिनिडे, दैट इज ह्यूमन. मोस्ट प्रिमिटिव एंडोस्केलेटल स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ वर्टिब्रे, दैट इज नोटोकॉर्ड. हार्डेस्ट टिश्यू इन द बॉडी, दैट इज एनामेल ऑफ टूथ और बोन. Largest region of the body, that is abdomen. Largest bone cavities of the body, cranial cavity. Longest bony cavity of the body, vertebral column. All the chordates have three common structure, that is known as notochord, hollow neural tube, pharyngeal pouches. First organ of the body to start functioning, heart. Largest cavity of the body, abdominal cavity. Largest serous membrane in the body, peritoneum. Largest serous cavity of the body, that is peritoneal cavity. Smallest level of a body organization, cell level. Highest level of a body organization, system level. Vital function of life are carried out at cellular level of a body organization. क्रैनियल कैपेसिटी इन मैन, दैट इज 1200 से लेकर के 1600 सेंटीमीटर क्यूब या इसे 1500 सीसी बोला जाता है. ओल्डेस्ट फॉसिल ऑफ अ मैन डिस्कवर्ड इन साउथ अफ्रीका, दैट इज प्रोकंसल. द साइंटिस्ट हु हैड गिवन द साइंटिफिक नेम ऑफ द मैन, दैट इज कैरोलस लिनायस. Nearest relative of a man among the primates, that is great ape. Organ that are similar in appearance and perform similar function but different in basic structure and origin, that is analogous. Organ that exhibit different function but have similar embryonic development function, that is organ that are similar in appearance and perform similar function but differ in basic structure and origin, that is analogous. Organ that exhibit different function but have similar embryonic development function, that is homologous. Analogous, homologous. Family to which human beings belong, that is hominidae. Direct ancestor of the modern living man, that is Cro-Magnon. Animal who do not possess tail, that is ape, modern man. Now coming to the all are the correct regarding the taxonomic classification of a human except phylum Chordata, class Mammalia, order Primata, family Homo sapiens. I think correct answer is all are correct regarding the taxonomic classification of a human. ओके एक्सेप्ट मतलब हमें गलत को चूज करना है. सो फैमिली आपका होमोसापियंस, ये गलत हो जाएगा. ऑल आर द कैरेक्टरिस्टिक ऑफ अ ह्यूमन बीइंग एक्सेप्ट ए लार्ज वेल डेवलप्ड ब्रेन, a well developed articulate speech, a well developed sense of smell and opposable thumb. All are the characteristic of a human being except क्या होता है? A large well developed brain, a well developed articulated speech, I think C. A well developed sense of smell इसमें नहीं होता है. Prehensile hand, opposable thumb, well developed brain and a prominent chin are the structural characteristic of a grouping of animal termed as, that is 3 का हो जाएगा B, humans. Regarding serous membrane, which of the following word pair is incorrect? Peritoneum, thoracic cavity. Pleural, thoracic cavity. Peritoneum, abdominal cavity. Pleura, lungs. ओके, प्लूरा पेरिटोनियम, प्लूरा ना बी लग रहा है, नो। विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग, ओ इनकरेक्ट, इनकरेक्ट होगा तो आपका प्लूरा आपका थोरासिक कैविटी, प्लूरा तो थोरासिक कैविटी में आ जाएगा। पेरिटोनियम नहीं, प्लूरा थोरासिक कैविटी हो गया तो पेरिटोनियम आपका थोरासिक कैविटी तो हो नहीं सकता है। पेरिटोनियम एब्डोमिनल कैविटी करेक्ट। प्लूरा आपका लंग्स को समझा जाएगा, सो ए करेक्ट होगा, ए इनकरेक्ट। ओके, एग्रीगेशन of a similar cell that perform specific function are called as organelles, organ, tissue, gland. Aggregation of a similar cell that perform specific function are called as, that is, tissue. The largest body cavity, largest body cavity क्या होता है? Cranial cavity, thoracic cavity, abdominal cavity, vertebral cavity. I think C. Yes, abdominal cavity. All are example of an organ except heart, skin, muscle, spleen. Muscles. All are example of a tissue. टिश्यू का एग्जाम्पल सभी आएगा एक्सेप्ट एपिथेलियम, मसल, स्किन, नन ऑफ दीज। सो करेक्ट आंसर आ जाएगा स्किन, 8C। तो आज इसके साथ 41 मिनट में टोटली आपका ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ये ख़त्म हो गया। आर्किटेक्चर एंड डिज़ाइन ऑफ द ह्यूमन बॉडी, चैप्टर नंबर 3 आर्किटेक्चर एंड डिज़ाइन ऑफ अ ह्यूमन बॉडी टोटली ख़त्म हो गया। चैप्टर नंबर 4 होता है सेल, एपिथेलियम, ग्लैंड, कनेक्टिव टिश्यू। उसके बाद हम यहाँ पर जंप कर जाएंगे, ठीक है, यहाँ पर बहुत जल्दी जंप कर जाएंगे। ये थोड़ा आई थिंक बड़ा चैप्टर है तो इससे टाइम तो लगेगा। ये बहुत बड़ा चैप्टर है, बहुत ज़्यादा बड़ा। कितना पेजेस इसमें आ जाएगा? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 हाफ पेजेस, ठीक है। देखते हैं। थैंक्स फॉर वॉचिंग।